What's up everybody, Paul here with more work on the Trans Am. So I'm going to work on replacing the gear in the passenger side headlight motor. I already did the one in the driver's side and I didn't do a tutorial on it, so I'm going to show the breakdown and process of trying to take care of that. We've got a brass gear that's going to replace the plastic one. I don't have battery in the car yet to check the motors if they actually really do work, because we've got a lot of work to go through and I really don't want to buy a battery in it. There's a lot of functions that are just going to waste that battery for nothing. But we're going to pull the motor out and I'm going to show you how to pull it apart, lube the gear, take it out. It's probably going to need some refurbishment inside, get some of that old rust and dirty grease that's in there out of there, at least from my experience with the passengers or the driver's side one. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the tools you need, and then we'll walk through the basics of taking it out of the car and then pulling it apart and what's on the gear and putting it back together and installing. So hope you enjoyed the video, and if you got any questions, let me know. Here are the tools you're going to need. You need a Phillips. I've got a adjustable angle ratchet, a 10mm wrench, 10mm socket, and then I've got a regular ratchet. Here's the brass gear. You can find these on eBay, you can find these on Amazon, anywhere. They're not expensive, they're relatively cheap, and it's a very inexpensive fix for something that's always been a long-lasting problem on these cars. Mind you, this is only going to be on the 93 to 97 cars, because I don't know if it's the same motor for the 98 and up, so take this with a grain of salt. If it does help you on those cars, I just don't know. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do, we need to get this out. More power to you if you can work your hand in there and get these out. These are 10mm bolts. You have a nut. You got to rotate this up to get the headlight up so that you got the room to work in there. And then this clip just slides forward so that you can get in there. Like I said, if you can get your hand in there, more power to you. I can't, so alright, let's get going. So there's 4 screws on each side of this bezel that you want to take out. That's not going out. So I've got this hardware from streamingchicken.com. I know some of this stuff gets lost over time trying to replace these headlights. I'll leave a link in the description below so that if anybody needs some of this stuff, they can get it. So this comes off. So originally, I took this out, cleaned it up. You can buy these on eBay. The whole assembly, and then the metal frame you can actually get from Classic Industries. I got the frame here, the metal piece, and then the retainer on Classic Industries, and it's probably like $50 for both pieces. It's standard to most GM products in this area that use this style of headlights, so if you need it, get it. Alright, add a 10mm wrench to your list of tools you need for this. Just a regular one, because I'm not going to get the socket in here. Alright, add a 10mm wrench to your list of tools you need for this. Just a regular one, because I'm not going to get the socket in here. Alright, so we got the motor out. It took a minute. As you can see, just years of rust and crap built up in there, especially on the threads. Made a little bit of a pain in the ass to get it out because it just seizes in there. So a little bit of WD-40, and I was a little impatient with my paddle puller, so I just used a brass drift to kind of beat it off a little bit. No damage, just a little surface area. But the next thing you want to do is you want to break the seal on here. So I'm going to clean this up, break the seal, and then once this whole assembly off, you'll have a worm gear here, which is funny because this is metal, and then the plastic gear. This plastic gear seems to be okay, but I can feel the the looseness, and it's starting to wear out, I guess, in there. But we'll pull this apart, put the new gear in. The assembly that holds it in place introduces moisture and stuff like that, so we're probably gonna have to sand it up, clean it up, get all the rust out of there. But once this is off, it's an easy task. Alright, so the easiest thing you can do to pull this open is use 2 screwdrivers. You can use a scribe to kind of break the glue depending on the situation you're working with, but what you want to do is you want to work your way around. Remember, this is, at least in this case, car's case, 30 years old, so just be careful with the plastic. And I took a scribe and kind of broke off all the adhesive that was there. But once you do that, you work your way around, take the nut off. This cap will work off. And here's the original plastic gear in here. And there it is. Surprisingly, you can see where it's kind of chewed up. This whole assembly comes off, and then you put the new gear on it. See, this one's not in bad shape. The assembly's not in bad shape. There's very little rust on it. The other one I had tons of rust and accumulation of junk, but you can see the deformity of the gear right here. Yeah, it's just there. So surprisingly, this gear has lived up for the last 31 years. So not as bad condition as I thought it'd be. So now, grab this gear. Slide it in. Throw this back into the assembly. I think that's the only thing I don't like, is this thing's got a lot of play. The original one I had in that one was keyed so that it wouldn't have that play, but I guess I'm gonna have to deal with that for now. Alright, so we're going to use CA glue. You can use some double bubble. I don't have any double bubble with me. But just go around the perimeter. Put a good bead of glue all the way around. You can get CA glue at like Hobby Lobby or Michael's or anything. I think that's a hobby store. This stuff works great for stuff like this where you need to seal it up and then use the accelerator to flash dry it so that it's strong and permanent bond. So now, remember to clean your edges before you do anything. You don't want any of the grease on there or just during debris. It just keeps it clean. So now, snaps back into place. Like I said, I like using the CA glue or the accelerator to flash it in. There we go. Make sure it gets over that lip. I put a little grease on the shaft so that it glided along there as well. So So with that said and done, this saves you so much money versus buying a whole brand new motor. And just for the sake of it, I'm gonna go around these areas and seal it up a little bit more. Try to keep as much moisture out of the sides as possible. I know it's gonna come into the front, but anywhere that I can stop it from accumulating is for the best. So and that's that for replacing the gear. Like I said, I won't know until it really works, until I get a battery, and I've been kind of kicking that can down the road, and probably just find me some cheap mechanic shop that's got batteries for these things for like 20 bucks if I can, just to do an ops check, but eventually I'll get there. And then from there, you reverse the install to put it back in. Alright, so we got the gear in place. I'm not happy with the gear. There's too much play in it, and it's not giving me the full range of motion that I should have. But for the most part, that kind of gives you the idea of what is involved with replacing the gear. I'm gonna have to go back and look and see what gear is the proper one, because there's too much play within the, I guess, the coupling and the gear. I know the original gear I had individual slots where those keyways went in, locked in, and it traveled the entire motion of the gear. This one doesn't have it, and I'm not getting the full up and down motion. So it'll go up, but then it gives me about that much gap when it goes down. So need to find a new one. I'm gonna replace it. We got some other things in the works for the car. I just ordered a new dashboard. I found one on eBay to replace it, and because this one is just trash. And then start working on the interior cards. But at least there's a tutorial on how to do the headlight motors. Like I said, save yourself a couple bucks, just buy the gear, make sure it's the right gear, because it needs those keyways. Go back and review the video, and you'll see that the spokes on this gear are just too open. And if I can find a picture of what the other gear looks like, I'll put it on here. I know I've got one from when I refurbished the other gear, so I'll show you what it is, and that way you guys can go find the proper gear, and then you got a little bit more info on how to install it. If you got any questions, let me know. Please like and subscribe, and I'll get some more do-it-yourself videos as I can and put them up as soon as I can come along. You guys have a good day. Thanks.